This episode is brought to you by Summer School Electronics. With pedals like the Snow Day Delay, the Pep Rally Fuzz, the Trash Panda, and my personal favorite, the Science Fair, which is two classic dirt pedals in one, with a mid-boosted overdrive on one side, a black lab rat circuit on the other, and a blend knob to blend between them to find the perfect classic stacked dirt sound you're looking for, it's hard not to find something you'll love. Mark builds all of his pedals by hand in Syracuse, New York, where he also works as a full-time educator. In addition to the super fun graphics on their pedals, Mark also offers custom artwork. Want your dog's face on a pedal? He can do it. Want your face on a pedal? He can make that happen too. Go over to summerschoolelectronics.com and make sure to tell him that 40 Watt Podcast sent you. Hey y'all, welcome to the 40 Watt Podcast. My name is Phillip, coming to you here on, it's Monday night for me. It's going to be Tuesday morning when you're listening to this. So, got another guest on this week. You're listening to episode number 6. So, we're getting into this thing. I'm starting to find a groove, starting to understand how this works. Really enjoyed having Clifton Worley on last week to talk about Mississippi music and Mississippi musicians and growing up in the South and church and roots music. And this time I've got actually a college buddy of mine on, Jeremiah Matthews, who has his own band that you started at Delta State, didn't you? Or did you bring that with you to Delta State? So, called the Ellie Badge. I'm going to give him a chance to talk all about that because they make some great music. Jeremiah's in the Memphis music scene, so today we're going to really talk about Memphis music scene, Jeremiah's insane gear setup that I still don't fully understand, but that's cool. We'll talk about that. So, dude, tell us about you.
Oh, hey, well, yeah, like I said, my name is Jeremiah Matthews. I went to college with Phillip at Delta State. I was there from 2008 until 2013. Took an extra year. And then I lived in Cleveland, Mississippi, where Delta State is, for 2 years prior to that. And then after that, I moved up here to Memphis. I've been up here in Memphis a little over 7 years. And I double majored in music production and art, graphic design while I was at Delta State, and I ended up going with the graphic design thing. I never finished the music production side of the degree, but then I got graphic design stuff. I came up here to Memphis. I went to the U of M to get my master's in graphic design, and now I am the graphic designer for Crosstown Art. It's a little section of Midtown, Crosstown is, in Memphis, where we're trying to, it's an arts nonprofit, and we try and, fill the community with as much cool stuff as we can, give a lot of artistic opportunities. And then I teach sometimes on the side. I adjunct at U of M whenever they need somebody. And and also I have my band, the Ellie Badge, which I've been doing for over 10 years now.
Wow.
And,
it's hard to believe it's been that long.
It's mostly just me, so.
Right.
Yeah, man. I started doing this, it's always been like a bedroom project. So like when I was like 15, my dad bought me a copy of Cakewalk. So it's an old recording software, like an old DAW.
Yeah.
And it was really good for the time. Like I didn't really understand much of it, but I started using it because I was using Audacity for a while. And then my dad got me Cakewalk, and I used this old Yamaha right over here. I used an Yamaha MT100. It's like a 4-track tape recorder.
Yeah.
And I used that as like an interface and would plug directly into the audio input on my computer and record that way.
I love that you still have it.
Oh, yeah. It was my dad's old 4-track, and it's just, it's really sentimental to me. My dad passed away back in March of this year.
Oh,
Another reason why this year sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just, I have all of my dad's gear, and it's just, on top of that, though, this MT100 sounds really good. I don't know if it's just I don't know if it's like a placebo effect, but running through it feel like it makes things sound better when I record.
Oh, that is cool. I had one of those old Tascam tape recorders a long time ago, and all I ever got out of it was getting really frustrated at the sound of myself recorded. So I don't think anything survived that. So.
Oh yeah, I opened this. I let another friend of mine from Delta State, Jesse Mansfield. He lives up here in Memphis now too, and he successfully got his audio engineering degree thing from the DMI, and he records a lot of bands up there, and I let him borrow the MC100 so he could like mess with it because he's been doing some he does a lot of really cool analog technology recording, like he records the tape and all that stuff, which is really cool.
Oh, so
I let him borrow it, and as a favor for letting him borrow it, he just took the tape out and digitized it for me, so I got to listen to when I was 15 and I used to record on the tape, and he sent me a digital copy of that, and I listened to it, and it's just, oh my god.
Oh, that's so awful. Cool though. No, it is so cool to have, look back on.
Oh yeah.
And see the progress.
Yeah, honestly, because I can't find a lot of my old recordings when I was 16, 17. So all of those were horribly recorded, horribly mixed, everything, but it'd be nice to hear them again, you know?
Yeah. Who knows? There might be some really, really great ideas in there that you lost that you didn't even think about anymore.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I am a firm believer in accidental magic. The idea, I feel like the better I get at guitar, the more I feel like there are certain ways I should play guitar, and every instrument really. And I feel like I lose a lot of that outsider energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. I was sitting around today actually playing guitar for a little bit, and I picked it up. I'm playing, and I mean, the pandemic, one of the things it's done is I actually play guitar every day again. It's been a while since I could say that, but I play guitar every day, half hour to an hour a day. It's not like practice, and sometimes it's just noodling, but I have a guitar in my hands, making notes. But today I was sitting there, I was working at it and playing and really thinking about what I'm playing, and I'm I don't know when the last time I discovered a cool chord change was, or a cool lick that I'd never played before, or it's been so long and I've gotten so steeped in the things that I know that I don't find those cool things anymore, or things don't sound as cool to me anymore. I don't know what it really is the case, but I just thought about that today because I was sitting there holding the guitar in my hand. I started trying to make myself play something I wouldn't normally play. I'm try not to sound like you for a little bit.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I haven't had that problem right now. Actually, I'm working on a lot of demo stuff for when COVID's eventually over. I can take demos to my band and be let's work on this. So I was recording this all by myself, and I wrote this new song, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm oh, this is different. I've never done anything like this. And I was recording it, and I got done with most of the demo tracking. And I listened to it, and the end of the song sounds almost exactly like another song I did 7 years ago. And I'm oh God, I always get stuck in this trap where I feel like I'm doing the same thing over and over. So
yeah,
I feel you, man. It's difficult.
It's a total trap.
Patterns,
Yeah, it's a total trap. I think that's the beauty of working with co-songwriters and having somebody else produce things, is that you get that outsider perspective that you're not able to do anymore.
We'll be right back.
This podcast is supported in part by Stringjoy Strings. I'm a snob, at least that's what people tell me. I'm never okay with good enough, and that's where Stringjoy Strings come in. They're better than good enough. They're the best. Stringjoy are making some of the finest strings available today right up the road from me in Nashville, Tennessee. They offer custom sets, balanced tension, coated strings, the works. If you need it, they can probably make it happen. You should be using Stringjoy Strings, and if you're going to order from them, you really could help this podcast out by clicking the affiliate link down in the description or show notes below. You get amazing strings, I get a little bit of that back to help the show keep going. It's a win-win situation. Get your Stringjoy Strings today.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that collaborative energy. That was the big thing I went over in grad school with my graphic design stuff, was the idea that collaborative energy, it sounds really hokey. I promise I'm not holistic or hippie at all like that, but the idea that when you collaborate with somebody, you throw an idea at them, they're going to throw something back at you, and then you're going to go off that. Like, you can't possibly come up with something as interesting as you could bouncing off of something else. And just like the rapid interactions that happen when you collaborate with somebody, it's like you create something entirely new. And it's like it's one of those like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. I talked about this last week at Clifton, actually, just about this podcast and how, for the first 4 episodes, it was me. I think the term I used was talking to the void and just talking. Yeah. And it's like, it got way more interesting when suddenly there was someone giving me immediate feedback and we were able to riff and just talk, and the conversation flowed and found things to talk about and angles I would have never come up with on my own. Works the exact same way in music, writing songs or coming up with melodic ideas or whatever you're doing.
Oh yeah, because it's like, I mean, conversations are. I mean, what is music if not a conversation?
Exactly.
Especially when you get into like jazz, jamming and stuff, like you gotta be able to like riff off what other people are doing, and I mean, I often, like, I didn't really, like, jam with anybody in a really long time. Like, in high school and in early college, I would jam with people and come up with ideas. But usually, I've never written stuff. Usually when I write things, it's always by myself. I'll sit down, I will record a demo. I'll kind of write all the intricate parts while I'm recording it. Like, I'll have, like, a general idea in my head, but then while recording, I'll come up with all the ideas. And then I'll just take that to the band and be like, play this, and they'll just do it. And yeah, exactly. And I've always and that gets me back to the same problem I had earlier, where it's like, oh, this song sounds exactly like this thing from 7 years ago, and it's because like I need to talk to my drummer and be like, hey, dude, what would you do right here? Or bass player, what would you do right here? Guitar player, what would you do right here?
And see, that I have that same issue with my own songwriting, is that I start to write things, but then I don't know, my brain doesn't work like that, where it's like, oh, well, I hear the drum, I know the rhythm that should be behind this, or I know the bass line, or, oh, this keys part, or this is going to happen here. For me, it very much is, when I write a song, I lay down the very basic chord structure on guitar, very basic, that what I lay down first is almost never what the song ends up being, because this is the bass harmony that I'm going around, and then we're going to build to it, and then it becomes, and this is really funny because this is going to play into like all the bands I've ever been in where we played covers too, because I'm a terrible cover band player, and there's a reason. And then it becomes a matter of, okay, well, here's the rough structure, and then I throw it at someone else. I'm like, put a part on this. You come up with something for this song. When I do cover bands, I'm the same way. I'm real bad. I learn the lyrics sometimes. I learn the melody and then I change it. And then I learn all the like super identifiable guitar parts or licks or whatever has to be there. Like, I don't know. We're playing
the iconic stuff.
Yeah, the iconic stuff. We're playing a blues gig. We play Superstition. You've got to play that lick. There's licks in there that have to be there. The rest of it, I'm making up as I go. It's never going to be the same way twice. I'm an improv musician first and foremost because my memory sucks. So I just, I don't memorize things. I play what I'm feeling. I play what I like. So,
yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, and your approach is very interesting to me, and we've been having conversations on Facebook for the last year or two about your process, and I think it's fascinating the way you do your demos and send it to the band, and they basically learn their parts, and then y'all play it live or re-record it as a band, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, well, it's like the way I've always seen it is, I kind of compare it to my family dynamic. My dad was he was a really good singer and he was a really good guitar player, but he always said, he was like, yeah, man, I play guitar so that I can sing. I just facilitate me singing. And my dad was very good, played a lot of gigs and stuff, like very talented. My brother, my older brother, he's a very good blues guitar player. He's really, really good. And like we had a conversation not long ago where he was just like, yeah, Dad played guitar so he could sing. And I feel like I'm the opposite, where I just sing so that I can play guitar. He just wants to play. He's really good at it. And I've never been as good as a guitar player as my brother. I've never been as good of a singer as my dad, but I can play everything a little bit. And the way I've always thought of myself is more of a production, more of a writer kind of a feel to it. So, in the same way, the band, like I've always felt really uncomfortable writing with other people. Just like up until recently, I've always been really self-conscious, and like really relatively recently, like I've always been really self-conscious, and I never wanted to show anybody any ideas until they were fully formed and fully polished. So when I would do things, I would like I've always seen myself as like a studio musician, like as a composer, that kind of thing. So I would make this whole thing and then deliver it to people. Whereas my brother is an improv musician, he's very good at that kind of thing. My dad is a performer, he loves doing it. And for me, I'm like I like being in a band a lot. I like hanging out with my friends. I like performing shows and stuff. I get a lot of really great energy when I play live. But like studio is where it's at for me. Like I love composing these things. So.
Yeah, see, I tried to wrap my mind around that world for a little while, and it just always came back to that's not what comes naturally to me. Now it's a skill that I should probably build and at least be able to be better at it than I am. But I very much relate to your brother. I sing so I can play guitar because that's my voice, my guitar playing, the singing, and I like writing songs. I love telling a story.
Yeah.
But it's still very much about, for me, it's why I don't do a lot of acoustic gigs. I've done some, and I've been hired out to do some in the past, but I don't like doing acoustic gigs. I like the energy of 3 to however many musicians on stage, and like that. That's why I like the blues bands. There's all the jokes about blues being simple, or everybody plays the blues, or just another white dude playing the blues, whatever you want to call it. Talked about this last week too. I talked about, I'm a white dude playing the blues, but I'm from Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Yeah, you got cred.
Yeah, I got a little cred here. You know what I mean? I was talking about the fact that I used to play guitar for a guy named Razorblade. I mean, come on, that you don't get much more credible than that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just is. I like that edge of disaster feeling of improvisational music. Like this could literally all fall apart at any moment. Like we're all just holding on, and there's an energy there, and I love that. And you can't like for me, to me, you can't compose that. But then I find myself envious of like these super amazing, well composed pieces. And this is where we're going to transition a little, because I think this is important because of that, like compositional nature of your style, your songwriting. That leads to you do a lot of looping gigs, or at least I know you used to. You still, well, obviously nobody's doing gigs now, period. Yeah.
But that's true. Well, I do looping gigs, but it's not like it's never one of those things where it's like, hey, like no bar owner's going to call me and like, hey, I got 30 minutes for you to fill tonight, or 2-hour gig for you to fill. It's always like it's way more on the like artsy fartsy side of things. Like I'll play gigs, or I'll play house shows. I'll play like singer-songwriter nights and things like that, where it's like, I don't think people listen to my stuff to chill and relax. You know what I mean? I think, how do I describe it? You know what I mean? Like it's not, I can't do a lot of like covers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
While looping. It's all very like a way for me to reimagine the songs I've written. And I don't know. It's weird because like it's fun. It's funny because I'm working on a new record right now, and one of the songs on the record is about this experience I had where I was playing. Well, up here in Memphis, we have a thing called Cooper Young Fest, because there's this intersection called Cooper and Young that's like a really big arts district. And I was playing a pre-show for Cooper Young Fest at this bar that's pretty close by there, and people before me were like this really, really good, like little, like jazz quartet, and they were playing some bluesy stuff and mostly jazz. It was real like, like chill, danceable stuff. And the audience of this place was more, like older Gen X kind of crowd, maybe young boomers. And they booked me for this gig, and I get up on stage. Yeah, right. And I get up on stage, and I'm playing these songs, and I practice a lot. I make sure that my show is good. There's not a lot of room for improv when you're looping. It has to almost be like, there's a little bit of room for improv. The loops can go and you can mess around a little bit, but it's very meticulous. So I'm putting on a show and everything. And about 3 songs in, I'm between the things, and I stop the song and I stop the loops and everything, and everything dies down. And I'm like, hey, thanks everybody. And the bartender in the back of the room, this like really just bad mood middle-aged woman, just goes, "Oh my God, can you play something we can dance to? Oh my God, I'm so sick of this sad millennial suicide crap."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I just sat there kind of like in awe for a second, and I was just like, I've never been heckled before. This is amazing. Like, it was just the most amazing experience for me. So I was just like, oh wow, this is great. So I was just kind of like, I was like, all right, well this next one's for the bartender, and I winked at her, and then I played the saddest song that I have. Because I mean, when you're doing live loops, like if you have triggers and stuff, you can do more upbeat stuff. But I do everything live. Like I have a little like drum pad that I cue in all the drums live. I do everything live, so I can't like switch it up a lot. And a lot of the energy from music comes from switching it up, especially on like drums and rhythm.
Right.
Can't really do that a lot with my stuff. It's very chill. It's very I don't know. It's the best way to describe it. It's like very very Boydinian-y, like Stevie Bridgers, Julian Baker kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a lot like that. It's a lot very stripped down, very emotional stuff. But when I have the band, I have drums, I have bass, I have another guitar player. We can do really energetic stuff. So like by myself, it's all very sad, somber, ambient stuff. And with the band, it's all very over the top, energetic. Everybody's running around, everybody's sweating. So I get to hit both sides of the emotional spectrum, but with the same music. It's really interesting.
Oh, that is very interesting. I'm definitely gonna have. I've heard you with the band. Of course, it was a long time ago, and it was a probably completely different band lineup than it is now.
Oh,
yeah, completely
totally
different. But once shows can happen again, I've got to come try to catch both. I want to hear it from both angles. So that's going to be fascinating to hear both of them. So,
well, I'm planning on doing putting out. I don't have any recorded versions of the solo, like the loop stuff. So after I'm done with these demos, my next plan is to lay down the solo loop versions of all these songs and put them out.
So, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a fun 1-1 comparison kind of thing.
And we'll talk about the music that you have out right now in a little bit. But I think you put something out about the anniversary of an album.
Yeah. Oh wow. Back in October, beginning of October, I put out. I got my friend Jim Gray out of Boston, Massachusetts, to remix, and then my friend Joel Mariani out of Boston, Massachusetts. I got him to remaster this EP that I put out while I was at Delta State.
The kids.
It was my first ever
Hold the Hatchet.
Yeah, it was my first ever physical release. It was. I put out a little EP, then another little EP, and then I put this EP out and was like, I should actually make this. So I made a bunch of CDs, made a bunch of CD cases, and I sold them around town, and it did pretty good, and people like it. I'm still really proud of the song, but I was also 22 and not good at mixing and mastering everything. So I got my friends to fix it up. I paid them. They do music work for charity, so anyone I gave them, they gave to charity, which is really cool.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're great. They're wonderful people. They used to run a record label called Endless Bummer Records, and they put out all 3 of my albums, which was really awesome. And now they slowed down a lot, but they're doing more Endless Bummer stuff. As I'm not sure exactly what their plans are. I think they're going to do an annual release or something. But they're wonderful people. And they like I said, they reworked the songs, they remixed and remastered. They didn't change them much, but they just kind of polished them up for me. And I put that out with the old mixes too. So it's like the 2020 remix and then the original mixes, so people can kind of listen and kind of tell what makes a good mix.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a good feeling. I'm pretty proud of that record. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, playing live. Let's talk about since we do typically on the Tuesday episode we talk about gear a lot. That's things falling down. If you heard that, why are things falling?
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry. Apparently, I had a little LED light fall. It wasn't very secure to begin with. It's real cheap. But so let's talk about your setup, which is wild. I've seen your pictures that you post on Facebook of your gear. I understand gear. I have lots of gear. I've run sound on Neve consoles. You know what I mean? I've run sessions on complicated setups. Your gear gives me a headache. Is it the same setup for your band show and for your acoustic or your live looping, or do you change that completely?
I don't utilize everything in the band setup. So, so like when it's just me live looping, I have I had a Jaguar, like it's technically a Jag Master, which is like a Squire thing they did for a while, where they made like it's like a Jaguar / Stratocaster, but they call it a Jag Master. It was really weird.
Okay.
But I have that, and now I have a Telly that's set up the same way. That so what it is it's a basic guitar. It has all the normal accoutrement of a guitar. I have Strat style pickups in this one that goes through a volume, 2 tones, and then out, right?
Yeah.
And then I custom cut the pick guard at my job. My customers, we have a laser cutter, so I paid them to cut this little pick guard for me, where I installed a little Bronco bass pickup. So the Bronco bass has these 2 little half-size single coil pickups in it.
Right.
And I installed those in the pick guard, lined up with each other so that they only cover the bottom half of the strings, like the lower end. And then that goes through a volume knob and then out its own separate jack. So the reason to do this is, I don't have a bass player live when I'm just doing live looping.
Yeah.
So I run the bass signal through a kill switch, like a little foot-operated kill switch, and then I run that through a D octave, and then I run that out to a bass amp. So I'm playing, everything, and I'll just play and play and play. And then when the chorus comes in or I need a bigger moment, I can click that, and suddenly the low end is a lot bigger, and it fills the space a lot more. So it's just like a little speedy thing I can do.
Okay.
And I didn't want to do like a pog or something where it would just deepen the whole guitar, because I just didn't want the high end to get picked up at all. So less Light Drives or Japan Droids or Death from Above, and I just wanted the low end. So and then from there, the guitar is what gets interesting. It's it looks scary, but I promise it's not that scary. It's just it goes through some distortion pedals, it goes through a tuner, and then it hits the Morley tripler, and that's really the thing that sets up the whole thing. The tripler is just a splitter, essentially.
Yeah, like
it's
1 in, 3 out.
Yeah, exactly. 1 in, 3 out with foot-operated on and off switches for all 3 channels. I don't use the first channel, and then 2 and 3. 2 will go straight to this Ibanez analog delay, the pink one. But it has a Healy modification. Yeah, it's a great mod too. Like it has a little locking switch that turns it on and off, and the original switch is now like a throttle that'll just cranks up the feedback.
Oh, so it goes into self oscillation.
Yeah, so you hold the foot on it and it starts to do, then I can use that to make really cool builds while I'm playing and fill a lot of space and do a lot of crescendos and whatnot that help me feel more like an entire band.
Okay.
And then from there it goes into So from there it goes into a DD6 that I mostly do. Is it a 6 or a 6? It's a DD6 that I mostly just use on the hold function. I use it as essentially a freeze pedal, which I should probably just buy a freeze pedal, but I don't have $100 and something to have a freeze pedal, so I use this as a freeze pedal.
Oh yeah.
And then and so that goes in there, and then from there it goes into the A input of a DD7 that I have on the analog delay, have a little bit of flavor on it, and then that goes straight out to the output. I have a little 5-channel Saturn Works patch bay. and then that goes to its own output. And then the tripler, the third channel on the tripler goes into one of two stereo channels on my Ditto X4, which is the looper pedal, the PC Electronic Ditto X4.
Yeah.
What that does, it's a 2-channel looper that has like effects built into it, and then the other channel of that is drums and keys and any other weird thing I want to include. So then basically I can set the Ditto up to where it's a stereo looper. One channel is guitar and the other channel is, usually drums, sometimes keys. And then each one of those goes through a kill switch all their own. So the way the Ditto X4 works is there's a master stop button, but there's no stop button for the individual loops. You can double tap the loop button, but it doesn't it's just really what's the word? It's not ergonomic. Like when you're playing live, it's hard to double tap something really quick than it is to just tap one thing.
That's been my problem with loopers in the past. That whole double tap thing. I'm like, that means I'm going to have to tap out of time. And
exactly.
It doesn't work.
It works, especially when you're trying to play and sing at the same time. Yep. Like double tapping is just out of the question. At least for me, my brain doesn't work like that.
I'm not that coordinated.
So I use exactly. So I have these little kill switches that essentially kill the signal of that entire chain, which it leads to some problems, but it's the best I could do right now until I can afford an RT300.
Sure.
And then yeah, exactly. And I tried to hook up a MIDI pedal to it to program the MIDI pedal to have to have dedicated stop buttons, but I don't know enough about MIDI, and the Ditto X4 isn't that good. So they marketed it as having full MIDI support, and then after they launched it, they took that back and were like, never mind. So kind of annoying.
It sort of has MIDI support. It sort of does, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, it works with MIDI cost is what they meant to say, and that's about it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So,
yeah, I'm not great with MIDI. I learned a little bit. My last pedal board, I don't know if you saw pictures of it, was this big, massive, 80-pound gargantuan monstrosity that had the Boss ES8 and then the Boss 500 series pedals, and everything was MIDI programmed and switched, and that was what made that's what ultimately made me get rid of it, because it was like I spend more time programming patches in MIDI than I do playing the damn thing. So I was
man, that's so real.
Yeah, I'm not playing music, I'm programming. And
you're DJing.
Yeah, I'm DJing. That wasn't fun to me anymore, so I stopped. I sold all that stuff.
Yeah, I totally understand that. See, that's a big issue I have too. Is when you're using live loops and stuff like this, like I said earlier, there isn't a lot of room for improv. So whenever I feel inspired or something, I can't bend it to what I want it to do all the time.
Right.
It's a lot more rehearsed, which is fine, but I have little moments where I can mess with it. There's effects built into the Ditto X4, so I can halftime or reverse or tape stop it or something in the middle of the thing and do some really cool stuff there. But sometimes I get myself into some trouble, and I've tried to slim down on that. But yeah, I mean, that's mostly my board. So the third channel is the guitar splits into two channels. One of them is not the looper, and the other one is the looper. The looper chain, after going to the looper, it'll hit. It goes through the same DD7, the other input B of the DD7.
Okay.
Then it goes out to an MXR carbon copy, which is at the end of the loop chain. So I'll do a really simple little guitar, kind of a twinkly little riff to go in the background, and then I'll have a drum beat going, and I'll use the keyboard to do a bass line on that. And the carbon copy only works on the guitar chain and not the drum and keys chain. So I can click the carbon copy on for a chorus or a bridge or something to make the guitar get a little wild and fill the space a little more.
Yeah, it gets a little wider, a little bigger.
Oh yeah, exactly. It really honestly, the bass pickup and the MXR are probably the most useful things on my board outside of the tripler and the Ditto, because they make it feel like a big band. I feel like I wouldn't sound like I sound without those two pedals. So
Okay.
good
It
feeling.
makes a lot more sense to me now, but as much as it probably can, to be honest. But it sounds. I listened to a podcast recently with who was it? Mike Dawes. Are you familiar with Mike Dawes?
Mike Dog?
Dawes, Dawes. He is.
Mike Dog.
I think he's
Like from the band Dog?
No, and that's what I thought at first too. Turns out no. He's an acoustic guitarist who plays a like super wild like looping acoustic. He's also a very physical player. Like he does like he has a scratch pad on his acoustic guitar that's just like it's a thin veneer of bare wood that's attached to the top of the guitar so that he can literally scratch it to get that sound in the loops.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, you got to check this guy out. He's got a crazy rig. He's as far as I know, he doesn't sing, so he's not that type of musician. He's very much just an instrumental acoustic guitarist. But he's mind blowing, and the way he manipulates sounds, like you're talking about, the way he splits it. Some parts loop, some parts don't. It's wild. It's beyond my blues brain to understand. No, I can understand it. It's beyond my blues brain to operate, I think. I understand the concept. Just doing it would be a bit
really
much
cool.
for me. Yeah, I think you'd like him a whole bunch.
Yeah, makes me think of Khaki King. Are you familiar with Khaki King?
Yeah, very much so. It's a lot of the aspects of her playing taken to an even more like, not playing technical, but like equipment technical level. Like he's got like,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, and like Khaki King was like, she was the first one really pushing that style of playing, and just so she's very OG in that regard.
Yeah, I saw her open up for Camp Mo when I was a little kid once. My dad took me to see. Yeah, it was really. I was a kid. I didn't know what was going on, but my dad was like, "Oh, Camp Mo is so cool. I love Camp Mo. Let's go see Camp Mo." And he had Khaki King with him. And I remember sitting there watching this woman play this Takamine like Eddie Van Halen, and I was just like, "Whoa!" But she was like playing the body like it was a set of bongos, while also finger tapping everywhere, and I was just blown away. And like that was kind of the first time I was like, "Oh, you don't have to play guitar like a guitar. You can do whatever the hell you want with it." Okay.
Yeah. Make it do what you want it to do. Not. I mean, if you think about it, if we had always just played it like a guitar, we'd still all be playing giant big jazz boxes. We'd have never.
Oh yeah.
Rock and roll would have never happened.
Oh, exactly. I mean, that's a big thing. When you talk to a lot of people that are, maybe historians or people that are just really into recording as like a science, they'll tell you like entire genres of music and art have only been created by technology. Like we wouldn't have crooners if it wasn't for microphones.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have rock and roll if it wasn't for distortion. We wouldn't have hip hop if it wasn't for sampling and turntables. We wouldn't have God knows any of this kind of music, and if there wasn't that advancement. We wouldn't have bedroom pop if there wasn't affordable at-home recording.
Right.
We wouldn't have certain forms of hip hop if it wasn't for auto-tune. We wouldn't have so many things, and it's really interesting. It honestly really is.
Oh, and you can go even further back. And the best part of that is that everyone's like, oh, well, it's ruining music if you listen to I don't want to use the term boomers, but to a large point, that older classic rock blues guys, and women, but mostly guys, because we don't know how to adapt to things and change.
Yeah.
But they're very much in that, oh, well, guitar straight to amp, or guitar to maybe, an overdrive pedal, and to your amp, to this tube amp. And they're like, oh, well, all this technology is the computer playing the music for you. I'm like, you know what? They used to say the same thing about pianos when they were invented. Being in tune in all the 12 keys. That's ludicrous. That's cheap way out.
Exactly.
You got to know how to play in the keys that work for this keyboard. It's like garbage. It's bullshit, man. You play what works and sounds good and gives an emotion.
Yeah, I mean it's an instrument. It may not be the same instrument, but it is an instrument. Like when Rage Against the Machine came around, Tom Morello plays guitar, but you can't do the things that Tom Morello does without his specific gear.
Yeah.
So it's like, sure, you don't need to, like, sure, maybe he doesn't, like, shred. He can shred, but he doesn't shred like a typical metalhead guy, but, like, he's still getting a specific sound. He's not just hitting play on like on iTunes or something and getting that sound. He's still manipulating equipment in a way that produces a certain sound. It's still an instrument.
Absolutely. And,
So,
you know, I saw a picture recently of his rig from the height of the Rage Against the Machine days. And his rig was not complicated. That was the thing that I love about Tom Morello. He did it with like a couple of delay pedals, a phaser, and a whammy, basically. I may be off on the phaser.
He loved that whammy.
Yeah. Dude, the things he was able to do with like so little gear, it just, I don't know. It boggles my mind to really wrap my mind around, and not to advocate for less or more gear one way or the other. You get to your jam how you get to your jam, but
Exactly.
there are a lot of people who do a lot with little.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, you have Tom Morello that can do, he can do all these crazy weird sounds, but just like, he turns the volume all the way down on one pickup and he uses his pickup selector as a kill switch, which is really cool, and he uses a few little pedals. But then you have like the Mars Volta, who Omar Rodriguez Lopez has 4 like enormous pedal boards full of the craziest effects ever. He has like 4 echoplexes on his board at the same time. Like, it's insane. And it's mostly gimmicky, but like the man makes crazy stuff and he's a really talented player. So it's like, but then you have like all my favorite guitar players were the ones that don't necessarily make it sound like a guitar. Like Russell Lissick from Block Party. I don't know if you're familiar with Block Party.
No.
But they're really big, like I guess you'd call it post-punk from the mid-2000s. They had a few hits. They had like Banquet and Helicopter and a few hits in the mid-2000s. And the guitar player, like, he has these really tasteful melodic riffs, but he uses his pedals in that way where he can make things just sound strange and weird. And he does like he has to click this button at the right time to get the right beat, to get the right delay on this, to get the right the octave, to get the right, like dive bomb effect on this time. So he's still playing the instrument. It's just, he's made his own special instrument out of these little effect boxes.
Yeah,
so,
and it's still music. No matter how you shake it, you're making music. You're making something that's giving emotion. People are enjoying listening to it. It takes a skill to do it. It's not like, you just threw a bunch of ping pong balls in a room full of mouse traps set to play notes as they get hit. You're actually,
exactly.
There's a skill involved. Although now that sounds awesome, and I wish John Cage had done it. I think that's going to be a new project of mine.
Oh, I'm sure John Cage has done plenty of random, crazy, weird stuff.
But Mars Volta, I'll tell you a fun story. Mars Volta, and this is one of those where I kick myself and Mars Volta fans kick themselves, and this is where I'm gonna have to show some like hardcore ignorance, and like even then, I know. So Mars Volta, they came from a split of another band, didn't they? There's another.
Yeah, in around the turn of the millennium in like 2000, the band At the Drive-In broke up and there were 5 dudes, and Cedric, the singer, and Omar, the lead guitar player, became the Mars Volta, and then the other 3 dudes, the drummer, bassist, and rhythm guitar and backup vocalist, became a band called Sparta.
That's it, Sparta.
Which is they're more of like a typical kind of like post-hardcore band, whereas the Mars Volta is a Spanish-flavored prog metal band.
So about that time, it was actually in 2004. I was playing bass in my sister's band, and we had gone out to Los Angeles to play some shows, right? And
so,
we went out there, played some shows. It was fun. We were working with a woman who did a lot of movie soundtracks. She was kind of, putting us in touch with people in the industry. My sister was getting real close to a record deal, never panned out. Lots of reasons why, life happens, things happen. But
I feel that.
We went to Sunset Sound, which is this cool studio in Los Angeles, super famous, like oodles of gold and platinum records made there. The North Mississippi All-Stars were actually
familiar.
Yeah, the North Mississippi All-Stars were actually recording there at the time. So we hung out
That's cool.
with them, and it's like a complex, right? There's multiple studios on the ground. So we're out. I'm out talking to Luther and Cody. And then this guy comes out from one of the other studios, sits and talks with us for a while, blah, 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 sitting, talking, hanging out. We all go back into where we're going, and he walks away. One of them tells me, yeah, that guy's the drummer for the Mars Volta. They're recording over there.
Oh, was it Blake Fleming, or was it?
See, this is where I'm going to show my ignorance. I didn't even think to get a name. I didn't even think to get a name because I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I wasn't hip to him at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
That is so wild. They, like, Omar runs that band like a dictator. He basically writes all these parts, and in his head, he's like, I need it to sound like this. And then he goes and finds the best drummers in the world to fill that spot. And, oh, my God, any dude that has played with the Mars Volta is a top-notch drummer. And they do not last long because I think of how hard Omar pushes them. So,
oh, wow. Yeah, see,
like,
I've listened to their music, but I don't know that much of the behind what goes into making it.
If you listen, the first two records are a little more subdued. Just the first one. The second one's stronger, insane. Like, all their records, like, I think the second, third, fourth, and maybe the fifth record's a little more subdued and chill. But the drums are insane. Like, they're just they have to be playing constantly. There's no downtime whatsoever. They're just constantly like playing like paradiddles and polyrhythms constantly, and it's just like I can't imagine playing any of those drums for even like 5 seconds. They're so hard.
Yeah,
the
parts are not easy. That's for sure. Having listened to it, it doesn't sound like anything that I would attempt. And I am what I call a last call drummer. You call me if you can't cancel the gig.
Oh yeah,
like because you need to exhaust that option before you call me.
I feel that, man. I had to play drums during a practice once, and it did not go well. It was very funny though.
I've played a couple of blues gigs and one rock and roll gig on drums, and it's rough. We got through it, but it was rough.
There you go. I mean, we last year, my band plus our friend Jeff, who played lead guitar for us, we did a My Chemical Romance cover show where we covered all of their perfect seminal album, Three Tears for Sweet Revenge, from front to back. And one practice, Jeff, our guest lead guitar player, and our guitar player at the time, Eli, they were trying to get in sync with each other. They're because Jeff had just jumped on board and replaced another guy that couldn't do it anymore. And so they were having like extra practices to try and sync up with each other and be like, you're playing this guitar part? Okay, cool. I'm going to play the other part. So I was just facilitating this. So I was just sitting behind a drum kit trying to play and sing at the same time.
Oh, no.
And it was wild because I could do it okay, but just enough to give them a hint of where in the song they need to be,
right.
So they could play each other. And I was just sitting there playing drums on these songs I've never tried to play drums on before. And trying to sing these really theatrical vocal lines, and I was, I think I did okay, but it was weird. It was very weird. Because I'm not a drummer.
That sounds drumming alone is tough for me. The times I've done it, but then also trying to throw singing on top of that, no, it's just not going to happen.
It's hard.
I can't play. Really I can't play bass and sing at the same time either. I've tried.
Me neither. I don't. When we were at Delta State, I was in Delta Rock over in the DMI, so I played bass in Delta Rock. I got a scholarship for doing it. It was fun. Got credit, got scholarship. And we played a bunch of songs by bands where the bass player was the singer. And we played like Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy. And I was like, how does this dude sing this while playing this riff? This is insane.
It doesn't make sense. It's so hard. I can't I'm playing in blues bands or I'm playing in country bands where walking bass lines and you would think that would be simple enough. It's not. To keep that walking really bass line, and when the vocal doesn't care what your bass rhythm is, it's so hard. I have so much admiration for singing drummers and bassists. And everybody can eventually pick up singing and playing guitar. If you can do one of those other things, that's talent.
Oh yeah, dude, like fucking Paul McCartney, Geddy Lee, all these dudes. I watch them play, and I'm like, how? First of all, both of your things you're doing are top notch. It's great.
Yeah.
How are you doing both at the same time? You know, or even like modern contemporaries. Like this isn't really bass, but I was really into Muse for a really long time.
Uh-huh.
I haven't really enjoyed anything they put out in the past decade. But for a long time, I was really into that band. And Matt Bellamy, the singer, also played guitar and also played piano.
Yep.
And sometimes he would be riffing really hard on guitar and singing a completely different thing. And I tried to do that a few times. Like I learned the guitar part, I tried to sing the parts, and I could never do them both at the same time. And then I watched some live videos, and there are videos of this dude straight up using his left hand to tap all the guitar parts and then playing keyboard with his right hand and singing. And I'm just like, how? How are you doing all of this at the same time?
That just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it at all.
None at all. None at all. It's
Jeez.
mind-boggling.
It's a level of talent. It's talent, but it's also work. I'm not gonna downgrade the amount of work that they put in to be able to do that. It's work.
Oh, 100%.
They put in the hours.
I mean, honestly, if you want to be really mad, but like in awe kind of mad, go check out Tiny Moving Parts. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's like,
no.
I think they're from Minnesota. They're from somewhere up north near Canada, and they it's a three-piece. It's a dude and his two cousins. It's Dylan Matheson and his two cousins, and I don't know their names because he's the selling point. This dude, it's like a really I don't know if it's your type of music or not, but it's really emotional, screamy, emo stuff, but it's really melodic. Not the best singer in the world, but this dude plays crazy math tap like kind of stuff. Like it's all math rocky and it's all tapping, like crazy open tuning tapping stuff. And this dude's singing at the same time and was like running around stage, jumping up and down, having fun. And it's just like, I've seen this dude live. Like I didn't really like the band until I saw him live. And then I was just like, whoa. And now I'm just like, oh my God. Like they're, I don't know, just really, really impressive singing and playing at the same time. And he's like the nicest dude in the world too. So
it's funny how that works. I'm not big into the band. There was a time when everybody was, at least a little bit, but like I'd look at someone like Dave Matthews Band and some of the guitar parts for his songs, and I'm like, I don't get that either, because his vocal is I don't know the best way to describe his vocal style. Lazy? I don't know.
Yeah, lazy, I think is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Not in like a mean way. But
Yeah, not
like
in a bad way, but
it's kind of like, he just kind of talks and sings at the same time a little bit.
Right.
Like,
It's wild. But then he's got this really like hectic guitar part. Like I remember the first time I heard or saw it was acoustic. It was he and Tim Reynolds doing Satellite acoustic live. And I just sort of assumed on a song like Satellite, someone else played that part while Dave Matthews sang. No, he plays it. And Tim played it at the same time. Or like
oh yeah, I mean they're a jam band, you know. You got to be good. Right?
Yeah, no, they're killers. Well, we've been talking a while. I don't want to keep you all night. It is getting late-ish for me. I didn't sleep very well last night. I've been up for way too many hours. I had a migraine earlier today too. You know, things happen. But dude, this is fun. I've definitely got to get you on and talk about the creative process a little less than the gear and like the nuts and bolts technical side of things. Because I know not only, you know, you talked about it at the beginning, you're not only a musician, you're a graphic designer. I know you're an artist. I know you do a lot of stuff. Like you said, you're part of the nonprofit Crosstown Art. Is that it? Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's it.
In Memphis. I love that Cooper Young area of Memphis. It's my favorite part of Memphis. I feel like that is the heartbeat of Memphis.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, people can go to Beale Street all they want. Beale Street is nothing but it's commercial. It's commercialized. I used to play on Beale Street a ton. It's go there, experience it, but then get somewhere else. Go leave Beale Street.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's a good tourist spot.
Exactly. It's a great tourist spot, and I think everyone should see it. I feel the same way about Bourbon Street down in New Orleans. Go to it, see it, then get the hell off of it. Find the good parts of the cities, because that is not where...
Oh, yeah.
That is... Beale and Bourbon is not where the art of New Orleans and Memphis is coming from anymore.
100%, yeah.
That's... We're going to attract people here so that we can pay the bills, but then you've got to go somewhere else to see what's happening now, what's coming out of Memphis. I know there's some super exciting, nobody's gigging right now. We didn't really get much time to talk about Memphis music scene, so that's going to be another episode. But, there's some awesome things happening in the Memphis music scene. One of my favorite Memphis talks is talking about Julian Baker. We still got to talk about that at some point. I'm
Sweetheart, man.
I'm a complete and utter, just total fanboy over her music. I think she is one of the best things happening in music industry.
Honestly, yeah. She did her record release show here in Memphis, and we were in the same scene. I don't know her super well, but I was at her record release show. I got to talk to her for a long time, and her drummer was a friend of mine. His name's Matt. He's a cool dude. He's in a local band here called Good Bueno, and they're really cool. I don't know if they're still going right now, but they're really good. Yeah, no, Julian, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. You know what I mean? She's always been a really cool, local, awesome, great person, and then overnight she just kind of exploded, and we were all just like, oh, okay. And then she played on Colbert, and she's on Tiny Desk, and we're all just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah,
that tiny little girl that's at all the shows. She's, oh my god, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened to make it happen. I don't know if maybe it was. I know she's done a couple of Tiny Desk concerts with NPR. That's how I first discovered her. I found her through NPR's Tiny Desk concert series. And I feel really disappointed that, I grew up 60 miles from Memphis and I had to get an NPR YouTube channel to hear about a Memphis artist. It's kind of sad.
Well, yeah, it's more with her, I found out about her when I first moved up here. I just searched Bandcamp for local bands, and I found out about her band. At the time, they were called the Star Killers, and I was like, I love Star Wars. That's a great name. Cool. And I checked them out, and they were really good. Yeah, and then they've since changed their name to Forrester, which is kind of like something she does on the side with these dudes. And they're really good. But I remember checking that band out and being like, this is awesome. And then she put out some solo stuff, and I watched this video of her in a parking garage downtown playing an acoustic version of something. And I was like, that is a beautiful song. Oh my god, what a great song. I think I was the third comment on that video, being like, holy shit, this song is so good. I've been having it on repeat all day. And then she put out Frank Ankle through 6131 Records, which is a record label out of New England. And the only reason I knew that record label was because there's this post-hardcore band called Touche Amore that I'm really into, and I know them through them and through a band called Dad that was on. It was a two-piece emo band, which my friend Brian played bass for, and Ryan and Julian have a bunch of history together where they went on tour together, and that's the one where she blew up and all that stuff. So basically, she got on that record label. The singer from Touche Amore found out about her stuff, loved it, had her do guest vocals on his record. His best friend runs that record label, and that dude is just a really good manager. Basically, got her in the right people's hands, and then she eventually got picked up by Matador and just got on all these places. And it just, just her being uber mega talented, a really nice person, and then having the right people put her in front of the right people.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, and absolutely need. I saw once where someone tweeted about Julian Baker. It's please make sure that nothing bad happens to Julian Baker in the music industry, because she, like you said, she's one of the nicest people in the industry, that's making it and really doing something. And I know I've liked everything I've heard her put out, and I think I'm gonna eat my words if I got this wrong. She did a Rig Rundown, I think, with Bollinger.
Yeah.
And did she not reference your rig at one point?
She did, actually, yeah. Okay, so there's this venue here in Memphis called Rock House Live, which is typically, when you look at it, it looks like the scummiest dive, the scummiest kind of biker bar in the world. But for a long time, we had a lot of really great local bands playing there, and a lot of touring bands that come to mid-level bands. And Julian is really good friends with this guy up here named Zoe, who's a really cool dude. He works at Guitar Center, and he has this great band called Jadewick. And so I was playing, I was doing a solo loopy thing, opening up for Jadewick. And Julian was at the show, and we got to hang out and everything. And she saw me playing, and he got talking about it, and she's like, hey, how are you doing these things that you're doing? And so we were sitting in the parking lot, and I put the pedal board out, sat it down, and we just like went over all the stuff together. And so the big orange Morley tripler on my board, I basically was like, yeah, I have these two kill switches that come off my delay pedal here, and I have the Morley tripler, and it works like that. And she nodded like she understood what I was talking about, but I just wasn't doing a good job of explaining it. Because then she took those ideas and did it in reverse, where she uses the Morley as like she goes in through the outputs of the Morley or something like that. It's really weird. Yeah, I don't like. I've looked at her board on the Rig Rundown, and I'm like, how are you doing this? And I really need to like sit down and get her to explain her board to me, because like, yeah, because it's one of those switch things where it's like I tried to tell her what my stuff does, and she took that idea and ran with it and created something entirely new, probably through a mistranslation. And it's really interesting. Like like I said, she does really cool stuff. Yeah. Well, she has an RC300, the like really big Boss looper.
Oh yeah.
So she has this. Yeah. So she has a few like preloaded samples and stuff on there. So like when she plays Appointments, she just clicks a button and it starts the do 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 do. It's like the opening guitar riff, because it's not, it's awkward for her to start the song as the riff, and so she just does that off the RC300, which it's a great fix for her problem.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Huh.
No, she's really good, man. I'd love to like sit down and talk to her again about the board and be like, let's trade ideas again.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously, I don't know, she's doing something right. She's got great music. Boy Genius is really good. Through them, I discovered Phoebe Bridgers. She what?
Yeah, that's how I discovered Phoebe too. I discovered Phoebe through her. Yeah, Julian just put out a new single like last month, I think, and she got a new record coming out at the beginning of next year. So.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah, I'm really pumped about that. Then, well, dude, I tell you what, tell listeners where they can find you on the interwebs. Anything you want to plug? I realize there's not really a lot of gigs or anything going on, so there's not really any stuff like that to plug.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I mean, you can find my stuff on any streaming platform, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff, Bandcamp especially. It's the Ellie Badge, so THE, like Z, and then Ellie Badge, ELLIE BADGE. It's a reference to that Pixar movie, Long Story Short. But you can find all my stuff on there. Most of my stuff is on streaming, and then there's a few albums that are only on Bandcamp, like older stuff, and then this live album I just put out. I'm gonna put it on streaming eventually, but it takes the whole thing, and it's difficult to get stuff on streaming services unless you pay for it. So,
right.
Yeah, you can check all that stuff out. I'm working on demos now. I'll probably put out a few things in March, and then probably put out some stuff over the summer next year. If I can record stuff in time. Yeah.
Awesome. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna try to get links to your stuff, to some of your social media and whatnot down in the show notes of this podcast. I've never put in show notes that are links, so we're going to see if I can manipulate that and make that happen. I know it's possible. I just don't know if it's possible for me. So we're going to try to
figure it out.
We're going to try. So something I am pulling up real quick while we're talking. You can, I'm going to talk about myself. Sorry, this is what happens when I try to do something and talk at the same time. It's completely impossible.
I feel you there. Can't play bass and talk at the same time. I feel you.
Dude, it doesn't make any sense. So here, let's type a word here. Googling while podcasting is great content, let me tell you. So you can find the podcast wherever you find streaming podcasts. You can also email us at 40wattpodcast@gmail.com. You can also call and leave a voicemail. No one's called and left me a voicemail yet. We'll see if this ever happens, but I'm putting it out there anyway. You can. 662-546-0615. If I get any questions, I'll try to get them on the air. If I can figure out how to do that, I'm learning all this as I go. We're in episode 6. So, you can find me.
Great.
You can find us on Instagram at 40watt podcast, or you can find my personal Instagram at Capo First Fret, CAPOFIRSTFRET. But yeah, Tell your friends about us, rate us, review us on Google, Apple, Spotify, whatever service you use. It helps find other people find the show. Getting pretty good response from folks that are listening. So, every episode's getting a few more listeners every time. So I guess we're doing something okay. We'll figure it out as it goes.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, y'all stay cool. And last week I said I'd have a Friday episode up. Friday episode did not happen. I'm not going to make a promise this week. I might have a Friday episode up this week. We're going to see. But if not, if I don't have a Friday episode, you will definitely hear us again on next Tuesday. So until then, have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. This episode is brought to you by the supporters of 40 Watt Podcast over on Patreon. Go over to patreon.com/40 Watt where for as little as $3 per month, you can help support the podcast and get every episode ad-free. For $5 a month, you'll get every episode ad-free as well as a bonus episode every week. I can't overstate how thankful I am for the support of my patrons and hope you'll consider joining the team and helping keep this show on the road.